most of the African American leaders were very light-skinned, and the reason that they had such a rebellion against white supremacy had a lot to do with the fact is that they were very angry at their father, their biological father, Caucasians. I think maybe some young person may be watching this program today, maybe in Lagos, maybe homeless, maybe someone's watching wherever, going through some very difficult times. The human being has just phenomenal strengths. And we have to call on those phenomenal strengths. Now, I also want to say something too, to our, particularly our African-American middle class. I think they suffer from a lot of pain and a lot of confusion. What I mean by that, a young man joins a law firm in America. I don't know the British legal professions well, but I suspect I know something about it. Less. You join a law firm, you're an associate. You come in, you've gone to one of the better schools, most prestigious schools, and you get fired. Well, can you blame it and call it racism? Or is it because partnerships are based on the amount of business you bring in? And I think African Americans in general, African people in general, and African Americans in particular, have to be more aggressive, more imaginative, and more creative. That's what's going to be the determining factor in our human competitiveness. Now, my dear friend, Glenn Lowry became an expert on human capital. I believe it's social capital. But we have to capitalize on that. And one of the reasons I want to be on this program, other than you all are very interesting people, is to talk to people in Africa about being a continent that needs to come up with an ideology that encompasses all different groupings in Africa. I mean, I'm probably by genetics, check my genes out and it says I'm about 65% Yoruba, but I'm sure if I go to Lagos, I don't have anything there. So, but genetics, and I'm about 12% Pulu, as Caucasians call them, Fulanis. Who, if I get a chance, I tell you about my other side of my family, my paternal side, because slavery is a very complex institution. So anyway, my grandmother was a Fulani and Pulu, and they were favored by Caucasian men. In fact, my paternal grandfather was a Caucasian who left large sums of money to my grandmother and sent all of them to college. Now, my grandmother, being a very light-skinned woman, always married very black men. So that's another phenomenon, the colorism that's in African American, deep colorism. And yet they have African Americans who are physically black, have resentments to light-skinned African Americans. And actually, in truth, most of the African American leaders were very light-skinned. And the reason that they had such a rebellion against white supremacy had a lot to do with the fact is that they were very angry at their father, their biological father, Caucasians. So it created a clash. One example, my high school, elementary school principal, Mr. Gordon Hemmons, who was the son, great-grandson of Sally Hemmons. He changed his name to Hemmons because he was resented being called Hemmons because his great-great-grandfather was Thomas Jefferson. So America is a very mixed and confused society. And I don't know how I got off on that topic, but I had to get off there. I'm spending some time with my other grandmother, my grandmother Lula Nalla, but my other grandmother her name was Cornelia Gordon, and all of her brothers had gone to physicians. One was a lawyer, one was a preacher, something else. I'm named for one of the first African-American physicians, Alfred Gordon. That's my paternal uncle. And my grandmother, now I knew her much better, Grandma Payne, as we call her, because she got married again to a very dark-skinned man by the name of Dory Payne. But this phenomenon is just very, very interesting. The colorism. I think more African Americans need to address the psychological problem, the psychological effects that has happened to them rather than a lot of the outward. They're spending a lot of time dealing with the outward. Some Caucasian looked at me wrong in a supermarket. Those things. And I think we have to see ourselves as becoming competitive.